What's up, guys? Welcome back to the UFC arena. We talking UFC 261 pay-per-view card, 3 title fights: Valentina, Shevchenko, Weili, Zhang, Kamaru Usman, the 3 champions on the card. Lots of fights to talk about, but we are gonna start all the way in the main event of the prelims: Alex Oliveira versus Randy Brown. I'm talking about this fight because Alex Oliveira is one of my favorite fighters to watch. This guy brings the action every single time. He doesn't always win, but he always comes to fight, and I like those kind of fighters. Now, Alex Oliveira has been in the UFC for a long time, I believe since 2015, so he's a veteran of the game. He has 19 fights in the UFC. He's a bit of a win-loss fighter. Out of his 19 UFC fights, he has 11 wins, 7 losses, and 1 no contest. So more wins than losses. Yes, he's pretty good. He's almost kind of confusing in some ways because he seems to win fights that you think he shouldn't win, but then he loses fights that you think he shouldn't lose. Like, there's no reason why Alex Oliveira, in my opinion, should be losing to Mike Perry. But he's a decent gatekeeper, and if you want to beat Oliveira, you need to come with your A game. And he's dangerous. He shows with power. He's a wild man. He always trying to finish the fight, so that's what I like about him. Randy Brown, in some ways, is similar to Alex Oliveira. His record in the UFC is 6 wins and 4 losses. So win-loss, more wins than losses, but not the best. And I think that he has the ability to beat Alex Oliveira depending on which Oliveira shows up, It's hard to predict fights when Oliveira is involved because sometimes he shows up and he just knocks the guy out, and then other times he shows up and it's like they're not the same fighter. So I think I'm gonna stick with my boy Oliveira in this fight though. Randy Brown, he's good on the ground, he has decent striking, but he's more of a grappling threat. If it does hit the ground, Randy Brown is definitely dangerous. But I'll go with Oliveira for this fight. I'll say a decision. Next up we have Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute. This one is a pick-em fight for me. I think this would be a close fight, and depending on how this fight goes, we'll really know what Jimmy Crute is made of, because Anthony Smith is a very good fighter. He doesn't always show it, but he's a very good fighter, and I still think that he's definitely one of the top contenders in this division. After he lost to Jones, he lost a few more fights. He lost to Alexander Rakic, he lost to Glover. He was destroying Glover in that first round, but then Glover came back and beat the crap out of him. Then Rakic kicked the crap out of his leg. But Anthony Smith is a good fighter, and I don't think that he's a pushover. I feel like some people saw those 2 losses and thought that, oh, he's washed up, he's not good anymore. But that can be further from the truth if you ask me. I think that he's definitely still lion heart, He's not going to go down without a fight. And he showed in his last fight against Devin Clark that he's still an elite grappler. And it's hard to go to the ground with Anthony Smith. Jimmy Crute is also a well-rounded fighter. He's an up-and-coming prospect. He only has 1 loss on his record. He's 12-1, and he has a good mixture of knockouts and submissions. So he's dangerous wherever the fight goes. So I think that Anthony Smith is a great test for him. If Jimmy Crute could beat Anthony Smith in an emphatic way, he'll definitely skyrocket himself into the top of this division. This division isn't the deepest division. It's not that hard to reach up to Yan. So if he beats Anthony Smith and let's say 1 more person, he'll find himself fighting Yan. We know that Yan is going to fight Glover next. That's also a fight I'm looking forward to. But anyway, to my prediction, I think Anthony Smith, people have forgotten how good he is and how dangerous he could be. I'm going to give him the edge in this fight. I'm going to say Anthony Smith turns back the young, hungry lion in Jimmy Crute, and he finds a way to win. I'm going to say he submits Jimmy Crute. That's a bold prediction. I could be wrong. I've been wrong on many of these before, but hey, I'm a fan and that's what I think. I'll say by 3rd round submission. I think he's going to be able to weather the storm with Jimmy Crute. Crute might get tired faster. The fight is going to go to the ground, whether a scramble, whether a takedown, it's going to go to the ground, and Anthony Smith is going to submit him. Next up, we have Chris Weidman versus Uriah Hall. Now, these 2 guys fought once before. in 2010, so many years ago. And looking at both of them now, present day, I don't see an elite or top contender in either of these guys. Chris Weidman, unfortunately, is not getting better with age. He's on a not so great streak right now. He won his last fight, which was good, but I don't think he has what it takes anymore to reach back to the top of the division. Chris Weidman was definitely one of the best at one point. I mean, he was the champion, so of course he was. But I think that those days might be behind him. Not saying that he can't win this fight. I do think he could win this fight, and actually I favor him to win this fight. Why? Because historically Uriah Hall does not do good with wrestlers. He was dominated by Gegard Mousasi twice. Now he won one of those fights with Gegard Mousasi, but it was kind of a lucky shot. Gegard was beating him before that, and then Gegard utterly dominated him the next time. Chris Weidman, I think, if he wants to, could take down Uriah Hall, and if he does get Uriah Hall on the ground, I don't think it's going to be close. Uriah Hall is one of those fighters that, for me, never lived up to his full potential, unfortunately. He has all the talent, he definitely has the athleticism, but something just doesn't seem to click. It almost, with Uriah Hall, a lot of the time, it seems like a mental thing. It seems like he's holding himself back mentally, because he has what it takes. But even in his last fight against Anderson Silva, where he won, I wasn't very impressed. Dana White wasn't very impressed. But I am leaning towards Chris Weidman, and I'll say that he would win a decision. Next up, we get into the first of the championship fights, Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade. Now, I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I'm going with Valentina Shevchenko. I personally think that she is the most skilled female fighter in the UFC. Amanda Nunes is the GOAT, make no mistake about that, but Valentina Shevchenko is a beast. She is one of my favorite female fighters by far, and I just don't see anybody beating her. Now, with that being said, I have a lot of respect for Jessica Andrade. I think that she's a beast. She's such a strong woman. That woman be picking these ladies up and slamming them all over the place. We all know the famous pile driver heard around the world that she's hit Rose with, and that was the end of that. But Jessica Andrade cannot strike with Valentina Shevchenko, and that's just the end of it, because she's not going to be able to out wrestle Shevchenko. I highly doubt that. And she's not going to be able to outstrike Shevchenko. We saw Andrade versus Joanna, and we saw that Joanna handled Andrade easily. And I think that Valentina Shevchenko is going to be able to do the same thing. Valentina Shevchenko's striking is just so crisp and so clean. She does everything almost perfectly. Like her speed, her power, her accuracy, her timing. Valentina is one of the best. And unfortunately for Andrade, her toughness and her grit isn't going to be enough to beat Valentina in this fight. It's going to be an exciting fight though, I can say that much. And I think that Andrade is a good contender. I think that Andrade beats a lot of other women in this division, not Valentina. Out of respect for the toughness of Andrade, I would say maybe a 5-round decision. But we have seen Andrade get stopped by Weili in the first round, and Valentina does have the power to stop Andrade. If Valentina lands a head kick clean on Andrade, she can go to sleep. So I think this will be an entertaining fight to watch. I even think that Valentina will be able to hang with Andrade on the ground. Andrade is a really good grappler, but Valentina is an underrated grappler. Underrated in the sense that she's not like this decorated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, but on the ground, no one takes advantage of Valentina on the ground, and I don't think Andrade is going to be able to do it. So I'm going to go with Valentina all the way. This for me is one of the easier fights on this card to predict. 5-round decision, but definitely a possibility for a KO in there. Next up, we have Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas. Ooh, this is a banger. I think, guys, this might be the fight of the night, and this is the hardest fight on the card for me to predict. I have a lot of respect for both of these women. As a matter of fact, these 4 women are definitely some of the best female fighters in the world, without a doubt. And I'm so happy to see them so high up on the card, getting the shine that they deserve. So when I look at Weili versus Rose, what do I see? I see 2 elite strikers, and I would give Rose an edge in the grappling. I definitely think Rose is dangerous on the ground, and if she is able to get Weili down, she could pose some problems for Weili on the ground. But here's the thing, I don't think she could get Weili down. Weili seems to me like a tank. Weili's a powerhouse, and I think that you're gonna have a very hard time taking Weili Zhang down. As it sits right now, Weili Zhang has 100% takedown defense rate, so she's never been taken down in the UFC. Never say never. I mean, takedowns aren't the only way to get to the ground. They could get involved in scrambles that may end up on the ground, but I don't think that Rose will be able to submit Weili just like that. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm saying it's hard, and I don't necessarily see it. I feel like this fight, for the most part, is going to be a striking affair, and Rose has such beautiful striking. She said it herself. When she performs at her best, she's the best in the world. She definitely might be, because when Rose is at her best, I can't think of someone else in that division who has more beautiful striking than Rose. Seriously, so crisp, so clean, so accurate. She's like a sniper out there. Excellent movement. Rose is a beast, and I really like to see her fight. Weili, on the other hand, is also an elite fighter. Weili has a lot of speed, and the one advantage that Weili would have over Rose is her strength. Weili Zhang is strong. Just like Andrade, Zhang is strong. One of the strongest fighters, if not the strongest fighter in her division. And she'll definitely bring that strength, and I think that that could play a factor as well in terms of the striking. Now, when we looked at the Joanna versus Weili fight, which was fight of the year last year, what we saw is Joanna landed more strikes and she had more accuracy, but when Weili landed, she landed with more impact, she landed with more emphasis. I think Weili is going to have more power, but Rose is going to have more accuracy and precision. I think if the fight goes to the ground, Rose has the advantage, but I don't think the fight goes to the ground. So in a pure striking affair, this one is so hard to predict, guys. That's why I said at the start of this is the hardest one to predict. If I'm giving somebody the edge, I'll give it like a 51% to 49%. This is really a pick-em fight. I will go with Weili Zhang. Why am I going with Weili Zhang? Because Rose sometimes slows down. When Rose is pressured, when you're constantly in her face and she's trying to find a way out, she slows down. And I don't think that Weili slows down as much as Rose would slow down. So if this is a 5-round war, which it very well might be, I think that Weili has the better gas tank, and that Weili will be able to do more in the later rounds, as opposed to Rose, who gets gassed out sometimes, and sometimes she also seems like she's feeling the pressure of the moment. In Rose's last fight versus Andrade, if that fight was longer, I'm not sure Rose was going to win that fight. Andrade was coming on strong. You saw Rose's face after the fight. The damage was there. So I'm going to go with Weili Zhang, just barely, because if Rose shows up at her best, she's a problem, right? But just barely, I'm going to go with Weili Zhang, 51% to 49%, and I'm going to go via a decision, but an exciting decision. Now we go into the main event of the evening. Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Here we go, guys. My head versus my heart, right? If you look at these two fighters objectively, Kamaru Usman should win this fight all day. Kamaru Usman has more ways to win this fight, and Jorge Masvidal could pretty much win this fight by knocking Usman out. If he doesn't knock Usman out, it's very hard to see him winning a decision. It's very hard to see him winning via submission. He's not going to out-wrestle Usman. He has to knock him out. Usman is a hard guy to knock out, first of all. He's a hard guy to land cleanly on. We saw Gilbert Burns land cleanly on him. We saw Colby have some success, but in that Colby fight, Usman did not want to wrestle. It's very different trying to hit Usman and land on Usman when he has that wrestling available to him. and he definitely has it with Masvidal. He's not afraid to go to the ground with Masvidal, so he's going to use his wrestling. He's also getting better with his striking, right? His jab in his last fight was clean, and he's getting better. He's not at Masvidal's level yet in terms of striking, so I hope he doesn't go and try to prove that he's better than Masvidal at striking, because he ain't. But when it comes to mixed martial arts, Usman is better than Masvidal. There's no question about it. So that's my head. My heart wants Jorge Masvidal to win. Why? Because I'm a Jorge Masvidal fan. I don't have anything against Usman, but I just like Jorge. I like his attitude, and I think it would be very interesting to see Masvidal as a champion. I think it would just be more fun, you know. Masvidal brings a lot of things to the table. Now, Masvidal has great takedown defense, right? He has excellent striking, vicious striking, especially this version of Masvidal. He comes for the kill every single time, and this will be no different. I think that now that Masvidal has gotten a taste for how Usman fights, I think that this second fight is going to be a lot more competitive than the first fight they had. I may be wrong, because Usman coming to prove a point, right? Usman want to finish him. He want to have an emphatic victory here. But I think that Masvidal is very hard to put away. And Usman, although lately he's been finishing fights, before that he wasn't necessarily known for, destroying people and putting them away. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with my head on this one. Kamaru Usman wins this fight, no matter how much you guys or myself want Masvidal to win. Usman wins this fight. Whenever he can, he's going to make a point to try and hurt Masvidal. Just because of all the talk that came out of the first fight, I think Usman is out here trying to prove a point with this fight, and I think that he will. That means Masvidal is not going to win, but it is what it is. Kamaru Usman, 5-round decision, end of story. Alright guys, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed my video, please remember to like, please remember to subscribe, ring that notification bell so you get notified anytime I drop a new video. I will be giving my instant reaction after the fights, of course, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.